Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary and it's time for a Tuesday tip. I thought that this week we would do a quick and dirty fact or fiction around the use of aquarium salt in our tanks. For many years, especially in the early parts of our hobby, it was recommended to add aquarium salt to our aquariums as part of maintenance. This in recent years has sort of flip-flopped to never use salt in our aquarium, so I thought we would have a brief discussion today on some of the reasons why it might be useful or why we may not want to use it, as well as what types of salts are appropriate. Now, salt is a broad spectrum term. It means more than just sodium chloride as found in aquarium salt or table salts. And salts in general are important to our fish's osmoregulation, or maintaining their balance, if you will, in the water column. For many years, salt was recommended to be used probably because people were keeping a lot of live bearers, a lot of cichlids from Africa, and a lot of goldfish, all of which have a lot of requirements for higher TDS as well as salts in order to thrive. Also at that time, freshwater cycling was poorly understood at best, and fish tend to suffer from nitrite poisoning a lot, or brown blood disease, and it's well known that salt is very helpful with nitrite poisoning. So you could see why it was recommended to add salt. Keep in mind as well at that time that filtration options, both in the filters themselves and the medias available, were very limited. So it's probably pretty true that for a long time, the addition of aquarium salt to your aquarium really was beneficial, or more beneficial than not using it at all, especially in the first few months of starting your aquarium. Now, in recent years, it's sort of flip-flopped, and people say now, salt is dangerous, salt is unnecessary, and I think that's also both true and false. There's a lot of times that salt is really useful. It can be very helpful in treating some external parasites. It can be useful on treating sores or damaged fins. And it certainly can be used in order to increase the TDS in an aquarium of fish that need it. There are lots of options for providing mineralization in an aquarium, and salt is just one basic way. There's lots and lots of rumors out there saying that South American fish like tetras and Corydoras catfish are absolutely intolerant of salts, and I just find that to be just plain untrue. It is true that for the long term you would not want to salt their aquarium, but they do just fine for the most part with salt used as a medication, especially in conjunction with other medications. I don't find them to be that much more sensitive than other fish as long as the salt is dissolved and added gradually. Now, it's important to remember that when you utilize salt in the aquarium, it doesn't evaporate out, so it has to be removed through water changes. So if you are using it for a treatment against ick or colnaris or sores on your fish, you need to do a lot of water changes to get rid of it in the long term, and you don't want to add back salt for the total volume of the aquarium, just for what you removed during that treatment phase. Now, as with most things in our hobby, I don't really think that there's one right answer to many questions that we ask. But in my mind, for the most part, salt is not required as part of your maintenance routine, though it can be very useful as a medication. I often read online as well that, you have to use aquarium salt, or that you need to purchase your salt from an aquarium store, and the reality is that's just plain false. For the short amount of time that we are using salt in our aquariums for treatment, you can use table salt. Now, I know people are going to say, what about the iodine and what about the anti-caking agents? And I will address that. The small amount of iodine in table salt for the short amount of time we're going to use it as a medicine is unlikely to cause any problems. Now, if you were to be using it long term, maybe. And as for the anti-caking agents, a lot of commercially produced salts for making salt water also have those. So they're generally not a problem either. But luckily for us, with the sort of boom of the foodie industry, there's all kinds of salts available in our grocery stores, and there's absolutely no reason you have to use table salt. I like to keep either a bottle of pickling salt or kosher sea salt in my fish room to have on hand in case I need it. Now, as I mentioned, it's important you dissolve salt before you add it to your aquarium and that you add it over time if you're going to be using it. So all in all, I think it's kind of dangerous to demonize salt or to recommend it. It's a very much your mileage will vary situation. And as always, it's best to do some research into the whys and hows of using it should you decide to go that route. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this quick and dirty discussion on the use of aquarium salt in our tanks. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos and live streams. Stop by my Instagram and my Facebook, as well as my website, MsJinx.com, where you can find my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano.